Okay, today's day 2 with Daisy. Like I said yesterday, this isn't scripted. You saw yesterday that I got kicked a couple times. So you can see this isn't a finished mule. It's not a canned or a cookie cutter type training deal. This is just me and this mule working through the beginning steps and trying to get her to where she's a nice, enjoyable riding mule. We don't have fancy camera equipment. We barely know how to use the stuff. So bear with us on that, and I hope you can find something that's enjoyable out of it and maybe even learn something. I'll probably learn quite a few things as I'm going along. I try to learn something from every mule I'm working with, and she's going to be no exception. So yesterday we stopped with being able to move her front end and hind end. And so I want to pick up there today and see what she remembered and see if she has that same attitude. She kind of gave me a little bit of an attitude yesterday. See how she responds to that today. Her ears were in a good place there. Yesterday, I kind of got whopped on there. This is the side that she kicked me from yesterday. Okay, you saw the tail swish there? So instead of putting a lot of pressure on her and getting her upset, I'm going to go easy there for a minute, rub her back here. You know, there's an old mentality that says, you know, don't put up with that. You know, swap those mules or kick those mules if they do that. You got to teach them a lesson. Well, I'm here to tell you that if you think you're going to get away with that with a mule, you're not going to get anywhere. They need to know that they're safe when they're with you. If you're kicking your mule or you're hitting your mule or you're whipping your mule, you're not going to feel safe and you're not going to get anywhere with them. Let's try this again. You're bracing a little bit. Bend the head around. Good. Good. You can see her swishing her tail, but she's not giving me the same attitude she was yesterday. So what that tells me is we quit at a good spot yesterday. If I would have quit when she was kicking and being all upset, that's exactly where she would have been when I picked up today. So instead of drilling that to death to her, I'm going to start on something new. As far as my tools, I use a 14-foot rope. Some people use 12, whatever. I use a 14-foot rope that's a nice heavy rope that has a good feel to it. Some people don't like the heavy brass snap on the end of it. I do, because it gives it a lot of feel down here. I use a thin rope halter because a mule is sensitive around the nose area. And if you use a good rope halter, I like the ones with the top knots here. I don't make these, I don't sell these. This isn't a sales pitch, but I like these with the top knots on them. And they seem to really work good for the mule because they don't want to lean on them. So horse training or mule training can be complicated, or they can seem to be complicated. But really, our goal is to be able to get on the animal, have it. Another mistake that I made there, getting in the wrong spot, and I stayed with her. I could have let that rope go there, but I wanted her to figure out how to get out of that situation. There are going to be lots of times, and this is part of, we'll go through this a lot as I progress. There are times when your mule's going to get a rope around its back end like that, and that can be a very dangerous thing if you haven't gotten your mule used to it. That was the first time that's ever happened with her. Like I said, this is unscripted, and I could have got myself into a lot of trouble there. I was lucky I didn't. I'm going to have to pay more attention with her. But that looks like that's a good spot to pick up on today while we're there. So what I'm going to do is throw my rope around her. Some mules don't like this. They will get real nervous if there's any ropes going around them or anything. But if you're going to train an animal and the rope is your tool, then you won't get anywhere if they're afraid of your tools. You've probably seen this done before with horses or with other mules. All I'm doing is getting her to the point that my tool's moving around her, and in this case the rope isn't something that upsets her. Now again, that probably would have been cut out of most tapes, but I'm not going to I'm not going to edit out anything that looks like that. I want to show that stuff because anytime you watch a horse training video or a mule training video, it seems like these guys are some kind of rock stars, magician horse trainers or mule trainers, and nothing ever really goes wrong. And then you watch it and you get home and you decide you want to try it, something happens like what just happened to me, and get discouraged and think, well, you're no good, or you're not cut out for this. But the reality of it is stuff like this happens to everybody, just not everybody fesses up to it and shows it on tape. So my goal here, I don't have some kind of 12-step process or anything like that. My goal is to be able to move my tools around this animal. Now before she kind of got herself into a bind with that rope, I started to say, people tend to think that training is complicated and kind of mysterious and out of their ability or out of their reach. But really, we're working towards only three things. We want our mule to stand still when we want him to stand still. We want them to move when we want them to move, and in the direction we ask them to move. We want them to stop when we ask them to stop. That's what it all boils down to. She needs to stand still so I can handle her, so I can mount her, so I can tack her up, so I can trim her, so I can brush her, so I can halt her. All those things are just, your mule just needs to stand still. So that's the first thing I like to work towards. And the second thing is your mule needs to move. She needs to move when I lead her. She needs to move when I get up on top of her and ask her to move forward, back, left, right. She needs to move when I ask her to move. And then the last thing is she needs to stop.